But first tonight, Joe Biden has only been in office for 8 months, and already there are 2 full-blown humanitarian crises under his watch. The first on the border with Mexico, and now the second in Afghanistan, with the devastating takeover by the Taliban. The withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan was Biden's first major policy move as president.
U.S. troops, as well as forces deployed by our NATO allies and operational partners, will be out of Afghanistan before we mark the 20th anniversary of that heinous attack on September 11th.
This foreign policy move has been calamitous, nothing short of a heartbreaking disaster for the Afghans. The Taliban has ruthlessly moved in. It's running rampant across the country, seizing cities. There's bloodshed, and it's imposing Sharia law on families. Today, there are fears the capital of Kabul will fall to the fundamentalist Islamic group as early as the coming days. People are fleeing their homes as the Taliban moves in. There are an untold number of refugees already, and it's still early days. The United States is nowhere to be seen. It seems to be washing its hands of the crisis. And while this terror is gripping Afghanistan, Biden is relaxing at Camp David this weekend, according to reports in Axios and the New York Post. Biden's only response this weekend, a formal White House statement. In it, he said, "I've authorized the deployment of 5,000 US troops to make sure we can have an orderly and safe drawdown of US personnel and other allied personnel, and an orderly and safe evacuation of Afghans who helped our troops during our mission and those at special risk from the Taliban advance." What a joke, protecting those at special risk. The entire Afghan population is now at grave risk from the Taliban, and there has already been violent bloodshed, deaths, and refugees. Unlike Joe Biden, Scott Morrison did give a press conference about this today, and he was visibly shaken by what's unfolding.
The situation in Afghanistan remains highly volatile and dangerous. I think we're in no doubt about the character of the Taliban. We're in no doubt about it. And that's why today is such a difficult day.
The reality is, the Taliban seems stronger than ever. It was clearly a strategic mistake to withdraw the way America did, and of course Australia followed. It's obvious now the Afghan army was not ready or not prepared to keep the Taliban at bay. But have a look at this. Here is Joe Biden just last month insisting the Taliban would not take over Afghanistan.
Is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not.
Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
Can you please clarify what they have told you about whether that will happen or not?
That is not true. They did not reach that conclusion.
Do you see any parallels between this withdrawal and what happened in Vietnam, with some people feeling...
None whatsoever. Zero. What you had entire brigades breaking through the gates of our embassy. 6, if I'm not mistaken. The Taliban is not the North Vietnamese army. They're not remotely comparable in terms of capability. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan. It is not at all comparable. The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely, he said. Well, everything Joe Biden insisted was not going to happen is now happening. And the question has to be asked of the US administration. What planning actually went into this exit? How did America seriously not predict this was going to happen? And if they knew this was going to be the outcome of their departure and they still chose to leave, then this would be a gross and deliberate violation of human rights. The Afghans have been betrayed by America and its allies, and it's heartbreaking. And yet, Astonishingly, Joe Biden doesn't regret his decision to leave.
I think they're beginning to realize they've got to come together politically at the top, but we're going to continue to keep our commitment. But I do not regret my decision.
Australian and American diplomats and NGO workers are now fleeing ahead of a full Taliban takeover. The Taliban stronghold will pose a grave terror threat to all of us in the future. And it's undoing all of the work that has been done to crush the terror group in the past 20 years. And where is the United Nations on this? Where is the peacekeeping force? The same United Nations that passes resolution after resolution admonishing Israel seems to be silent on Afghanistan. If this scandalously failed Afghanistan withdrawal happened under Trump's watch, the left would be crying out in fury. A Biden State Department official did express her measured concern in a tweet. She said, "Woke up with a heavy heart thinking about all the Afghan women and girls I worked with during my time in Kabul. They were the beneficiaries of many of the gains we made, and now they stand to lose everything. We empowered them to lead, and now we are powerless to protect them." But Molly Montgomery then deleted this tweet. 2,312 Americans lost their lives in this war, and 43 Australians.
The fact that we as a nation stand for freedom and have been prepared to put Australians on the line for that cause is never in vain.
Well, it is yet to be seen whether those lives were lost in vain.